Good afternoon, Lee County. This is Sheriff Tracy Carter, and I'm honored to be here today with Sergeant Gilstrap and Mr. Bentley, one of our local celebrity canines. He really doesn't like us that much. He just knows that we have treats, so that's the reason he's that he's reacting the way he does. But we just wanted to do a little video about how important our animals are in Lee County, and we do a lot to try and take care of our animals here. And we want to encourage everyone to be mindful of your pets, especially this time of year when it gets cold. Make sure that you bring them indoors when it's really cold at night, and make sure that they have a good, tight place to sleep when they're outdoor dogs and animals, and also that they have adequate food and water. And I want to let Sergeant Gilstrap say a few words about what he does, and he might be able to give you a few tips that I can't. So, Ken, you want to?
When, especially in the cold weather, it is really important to provide the proper shelter. What the ordinances require and what we look for is that they have a dog house and that they've got dry bedding in it. A lot of times we'll go and we'll find that people have thrown blankets in there. We recommend against the blankets because they do tend to hold the water, and it ends up being cold, freezes in the weather. So we suggest using hay or cedar shavings or even pine shavings if you can. As wet as it's been, we've had a lot of rain, and we find sometimes that owners put their dog houses at the far end of the property and in low spots. So we tend to tell people if it's starting to rain a lot and you see water building around the dog houses, you need to either move it or raise the dog house up so it's out of the water and they're not sleeping in water. Temperatures. A lot of people have outside dogs. Not all dogs, especially short-haired dogs, aren't really, the cold, freezing weather isn't really good for them. So we recommend, if you can, bring them in. If not, install some sort of a heat lamp or some sort to give them the extra warmth other than their body heat. We get lots of calls from the community about animals running at large. And we do in Lee County and in the city have an ordinance against allowing your animals to run at large. But that doesn't mean that you have to have them tied up all the time. You can let them run in your yard free. As long as they're staying in your yard and not bothering your neighbors, it's not a problem. But if you do want to tie them up, we do have ordinance for that. You are allowed to in Lee County tie the animals or tether your animals out. Just has to be lightweight chains. Swivels on both ends, and give them plenty of room to move. Bentley. I ran out of treats, so he ran off. We have problems with strays. All communities have problems with strays, and we recommend that if you're not comfortable, don't approach them. Sometimes animals get fearful, and they will bite out of fear. Not that they're necessarily aggressive. So if there's stray animals around, feel free to give the sheriff's office a call. We are here 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, and we will respond. If we can catch them, they get taken to the local shelter where they're held for, under state law, a minimum of 72 hours, and we make every attempt to find their owner. If we can, after that, they're available for adoption to the public. There is an ordinance specifically in Lee County that if you find a stray animal, that it has to be reported to us or the Lee County Animal Shelter. And we do that because we want there to be a central location for all owners to be able to look for and find their pets. Our ultimate goal is always to get the pet back to its rightful owner. If in the unfortunate event we can't find the owner, then we try to find a suitable adopter to get it adopted out to and get it a forever home.
Talk about some of the rescue organizations that deal with here in Lee County and what they do.
All right, so to avoid showing any favoritism, I'm not going to say any particular rescue name, but we do have many, and I stress that. I believe I can't even count how many rescues that we have that work with the shelters in Lee County. They do an absolutely wonderful job of helping keep our shelter from filling up. Um, they'll wait the 72 hours. If no owner is found, they'll adopt them from the shelter, and they can house them for a lot longer. Um, they do an excellent job at finding good homes for these animals. We have plenty of people that will transport, and some of the animals are even moved to other areas of the state or even the country where they have a lack of certain types of animals in the area. But if it wasn't for our local rescues and some of them outside of the area, our shelter would constantly stay full, and we would have a higher euthanasia rate in Lee County, which we're very fortunate that we have a low rate for as small as our shelter is. And I could be wrong on the numbers, but I think it's only around 20 dogs and 18 to 20 cats that we can house at any one time. So there are times that if you're having problems, especially cats, we have a big problem with cats. They're always 2 times a year. There seems to be an abundance of them. So we will, on occasion, ask that if you have an abundance and you're calling us to catch them or trap them, when the shelter's full, we try to delay taking them in there to give time for those rescues and the shelter staff to work to get the animals out of there, so we don't have to euthanize the animals. That's the last thing we want to do. None of us take pleasure in having to do that. So we work as diligently as we can with the shelter staff and the rescues to get the animals out of there. And our shelter currently does not have any adoption fees. When you go to the shelter and want to adopt, you find the pet, the dog or the cat that you want to take home, be your forever pet, and they have a contract that you fill out. You take it to a local vet, make the arrangements to get the animal spayed, neutered, up to date on its shots. You bring the contract back to the shelter, and you can take the animal home at that time. They are currently by appointment only, and they are encouraging you to go to Lee County's website, to the shelter website, to look and see what animals you want to look at before you call to make an appointment. It just helps with them instead of showing up and walking through the shelter, since they do have appointments. They have time constraints to get the next appointment in. But most of all, our job at the Sheriff's Office and Animal Control is we really try to educate the public when we get complaints. Whether it's your neighbor's dog in your yard, or dogs tied out in the weather with no shelter, or we try to work with the owners of the animals and just educate them. We remember that there are many different cultures living in Lee County, and the way the culture is used to dealing with their animals or pets. So we just educate them on what the ordinances are, what's required, and 9 times out of 10, I would even say higher than that, we have a 99% success rate, and once we educate the owners, that they will abide by and do what's needed for the animal. And I think Bentley's over there looking for more treats.
I think he's stealing the show.
Bentley. Nope, he said, nope, you don't have treats. So that's mainly what we do, is we just want to encourage pet owners to be responsible pet owners. Take care of your animals. If it's cold, severe weather, bring them in. We understand that there's plenty of owners out there that have dogs that are guard dogs, and they don't bring them in the house, but they still need the minimum basic requirements for shelter, food, and water. Anytime we get a complaint, we do investigate it. We know sometimes people get upset because they don't see any change right away. Typically, that means that we are working with the owners and trying to get them to do what needs to be done.
You know, there's an old saying, never go on stage with a dog, because the dog will steal the show. So.
He will. Bentley.
This is Bentley McMillian, Terry McMillian's family member. So he's an important little fella to us. And Terry, he tours the county with you, doesn't he?
Now, want to come over here?
We appreciate you tuning in, and at any time you you feel like you need to talk to our animal control, or if you need to call animal control to come out, please don't hesitate to do that. You can get up with them through our dispatch center at 919-775-5531. So don't hesitate to call us if you need us. And